This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, Krantika, please you can start the session. People will be adding.
Sure. Thank you. So once again, good morning, good evening all. A warm welcome to you all to Career IT online trainings for the day one on Microsoft Azure DevOps. Right. So let's go ahead and begin the session without any further delay. So as part of the day one, we are gonna get started with the scratch, right? So though the course is we are learning DevOps on Azure platform, we cannot directly learn DevOps directly, right? So we basically have to know the infrastructure side or the cloud concepts, then Microsoft Azure fundamentals, then probably we'll be moving on to DevOps, right? That's how the path that has been set to move forward, right? So let's go ahead and understand what exactly the cloud concepts that we have from the basics perspective, right? So what I believe in is we should have a very strong basement, right? So whenever we are learning any new technology, it is very much important for us to understand the basics and to have a strong basement so that you can build a multi-story building, correct? So if your basement is not strong, probably we might have to stick ourselves to only ground floor or to ground plus G plus 1, which is ground plus first floor, correct? So let's have our basement very strong so that we'll be spending ample amount of time in understanding basics. So that the further real-time concepts from the DevOps would be pretty much easy for everybody, right? Let's move on. So before we move to cloud concepts, let's understand the role of a cloud administrator in the real time. So you might have a question as to Kranti, we are going to learn Azure DevOps, but why we have to understand the role of a cloud administrator or an Azure administrator? Why? Because we are going to learn the infrastructure side of it as well, right? So we will learn the public cloud infrastructure, right? Being a DevOps engineer, it is very much important for all of us to go ahead and understand the infrastructure. Then only we could able to understand the DevOps concepts, right? So few people, once we are done with the course, they can even go ahead and look after for Azure administration roles as well instead of DevOps. Why? Because few people might feel that Azure DevOps might be a bit heavy for them. So they might change their goal and they might want to get into Azure administration roles as well. So this course will definitely help them to look after Azure administration roles. So we'll now understand the role of an Azure administrator in the real time. Let's say if they have got a role as a Azure administrator in a company, and what would be their roles and responsibilities in a given project, right? So all in all, if I have to say in a simple terminology, the Azure administration role is to maintain and manage Microsoft Azure infrastructure for the customer in Microsoft Azure Cloud. So in simple terms, this is what exactly the role of a Azure admin. But what it is from the official definitions perspective, let's look on the PPT that we have. So cloud administrators basically manage the cloud services that span through storage, network, compute, and a lot of other capabilities like Azure Active Directory, SQL databases, probably machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, a lot of other things as well, right? So they should have a deep understanding of each and every life cycle or the complete IT full life cycle, right? So this is what an expectation from the role perspective, right? So what the Azure admin will also do, obviously, if you got a job as an Azure admin, obviously you work for a company and a end customer, correct? So you might be having a client or customer, so they will start giving requirements to you, and being an Azure admin, you start fulfilling those requirements for the customer. So basically, you will take the end user request for any new deployments, for any new cloud application deployments. You take the requirements from them. Probably You will recommend certain things from the best practices perspective as to what exactly is good, what exactly is not needed, how we can go ahead and save cost, how we can have the performance and scaling up setup, right, for the infrastructure from a futuristic perspective, right? Everything will be provided to the customer in the terms of recommendations or suggestions. So once customer agree that okay, this is good to go, then the Azure admin will take up the responsibility of creating the infrastructure for the customer, and they will monitor the infrastructure as well, right? So it's not only the Azure admin who would be doing the end-to-end roles and responsibilities here. Probably they might have to deal with some internal Azure architects or the solution architects, or they might have to sync up with the end customers or with the customer employees to see what exactly is needed for them, right? So these are all the things that the successful cloud admin or an Azure admin will be going and doing it, right? So what are the mediums or tools that are required for cloud admin to go ahead and do their job on daily basis? Probably we'll be having a portal or a website for Microsoft Azure, which we call it as Azure portal, right? So this is a primary tool that cloud admins or the DevOps admins or the DevOps engineers will be going and using it on daily basis, right? So once they're proficient with the Azure portal, probably we will have to go ahead and use PowerShell. We will have to go ahead and use Azure command line interface. Probably we'll have to use Azure Resource Manager templates, probably the JSON files, JavaScript object notation files, which we might have to go ahead and use for the deployments, right? So these are all the tools that we would be using in daily basis, being an Azure admin, right? So finally, what exactly a successful cloud admin should have? They should have experience on operating systems. It might be Windows. Let's talk about Windows 10, then probably Windows servers, either 2016 data center version of Windows Server or 2019 or 2022 version of Windows Server operating system or Linux operating system, right? Then you need to understand of virtualization, what exactly virtualization is, with the use of virtualization, how we can create multiple virtual machines, right? How we can create infrastructure in cloud, how we can go and set up storages, how we can use virtual networks to have the connectivity happens, right? So everything they have to know from the cloud admin perspective. So these are all the things that we will be looking into while we are learning infrastructure, right? So if you go ahead and opt for this course, you can actually get into cloud admin roles, or if you are not comfortable with cloud admin, obviously you can look after for Microsoft Azure DevOps roles as well, right? Any questions before we move further into the evolution? Any questions from anybody? So we learn about the DevOps roles when the DevOps theory or topics come up for sure. Any questions from anyone before we move further? Okay, I'll take it as a no. Let's move further. So don't you think that it is very much important for all of you to know the history or the evolution before cloud computing, right? So we are anyways going to learn cloud computing, what are the topics that we have, why a lot of customers are moving from their on-premises to cloud. We'll anyways learn. But don't you think that it is very much important for us to know the evolution as to how come the cloud computing has become the hot topic in the market, and why we have a lot of jobs that are getting created or a lot of openings in the market, isn't it?
Yeah, one more thing. Can I ask one question actually?
Yes, Balaji.
Yeah, in this course actually, there is any security related topics we'll cover about that DevOps and cloud perspective.
Yes, we will implement security and we will remove the vulnerabilities that we might have got in the project.
How much it will helps to that as a security and compliance guy for this DevOps? How Any job roles are available for that? Is there
So are you
security?
from the on-premises security perspective or from cloud, Balaji?
No, actually, currently I'm working as a security and compliance lead. So how much
Okay.
helps to get this course in DevOps kind of DevOps and the cloud? But on premises, I'm not only on premises and this one generic security policies and procedures implementation. ISO
Uh,
27001. Yeah.
okay. See, DevOps is completely a different course, and security is one of the module inside it. Why? Because you take any web application, you take any product, obviously security, we should not have to take it on a lighter note, right? Why? Because if you are taking it on a lighter note, from the security and from the complaints perspective, obviously your customer won't agree to it, right? Why? Because we are getting business considering the customer is a lot of expectations in order to uh, create the source code. Then we will be basically converting it to an artifact. Then the artifact would be basically using in order to perform the continuous integration and continuous delivery perspective. So in each and
Yeah.
every stage, while we are delivering the project to the customer, we will be taking compliance and security with utmost priority. So we don't bypass the security at all. Why? Because if you bypass the security and if you deploy one requirement into the production and somehow if the attackers are going to attack, then it's going to create a huge problem. So each and every stage will be having security people as well in the DevOps projects. They will be taking care of the security mechanisms to make sure that the source code, whatever that we are using, is absolutely perfect and it doesn't have any vulnerabilities or any viruses in. So this is only one concept, but your DevOps is not, we don't go completely on the security, Balaji.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Thank you. Get it. I
Yeah.
got that. Yeah. Thank you.
So let's understand about the evolution of cloud computing, right? So if you talk about the evolution of smartphone, we always talk about the landlines that we have, correct? Then we have as feature phones with small keypad, right? Then we might have evolved into a smartphone with again a keypad, but there is a smart screen, right? Where we might have used a 2G internet. Then we have 3G come in, then the 4G we are currently in, and the 5G technology is being tested now in the market, correct? So the future phone has become a basic smartphone with a full screen without any keyboard or keypad that we have. Then we know we are in 2022 now, and what kind of smartphones that we have in the market, we know about it, right? And in most of the smartphones nowadays, the artificial intelligence has been implemented, and we don't know after 4 to 5 years from now what kind of smartphones we will be coming up with. We don't know, right? Why? Because that is how the technology has been going and adopting, right? So let's understand how we have actually started the evolution from the server's perspective and what makes us to get into cloud, right? So let's understand about the evolution, right? So in earlier days, if you take a company as an example or a customer as an example, they used to buy server. They used to buy the server with upfront cost. So this is a server. Obviously, the server would be having some cores, some RAM, some hard disk or storage space. Correct? So they used to purchase this server upfront. Probably we don't know how much the server might be costing. Probably 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees or $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it is. Right? So the respective customer is used to make use of the server hardware configuration to create a website or to host their respective company's website. So they will be only provision to host only one website. That's it. So this we calling it as a dedicated server in the previous days, in the olden days, right? So this is one physical machine that is dedicated for them to host a website or a web application for the customer, right? So here what we are doing, the customer is buying this upfront, and this is very expensive for them. And since they are owning it, obviously they have to maintain this with the respective internal IT support engineering team. So the maintenance cost will also be huge. Why? Because let's assume if they have deployed Windows Server, right? They might have to update with Windows updates, or this server they have bought it upfront. So probably for this server they might have to do some patch maintenance, or they might have to go with firmware upgrades, right? Or because every hardware that you take on timely basis, you have to do upgrades. If you don't do upgrades, probably you are encouraging the attackers or vulnerabilities. You are actually Guys, apologies. There was a network glitch. So due to heavy rains, right, in Hyderabad, the current is not stable. So I've reconnected it. Apologies for the inconvenience. Lakshmi, can you give me the respective permissions?
Right. Did you share any screen?
Pardon?
So, did you sharing any screen or presentation? I didn't get actually clarity.
Yes, can anybody please confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes, we are able.
Great, thanks for the confirmation.
Yes, it
So
is.
let's move on. So we were discussing about the dedicated server, right? So the respective customer is purchasing this dedicated server upfront. I mean, if it is actually costing them uh, probably 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakhs or $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, they're purchasing it upfront and they are creating a website out of it, right? So they cannot create multiple websites out of this particular server. Why? Because it has a lot of limitation in the olden days, right? So this is very expensive and this is also costing them high in terms of maintaining these servers, right? Guys, somebody is saying the screen was not loaded fully. Is it for everybody or that only for Suresh? Can you please confirm? I believe you guys are able to see my full screen.
Yes. Maybe for Suresh.
Yeah, Suresh, I
Yes,
believe it was
yes.
for you. Yeah. So since this is a dedicated server which was owning by the respective customer, obviously this is having high security. This is having high security. Nobody else would be able to access this particular server. So this is somewhat like an on-premises environment where the infrastructure is available at customer's location or premises in their office itself, right? So in later days, what happened? We have come up with virtual private server. Virtual private server. So what is the speciality of private server? The same customer, single customer, is trying to purchase the same kind of infrastructure, but this time, since the technology has evolved, they are installing a virtualization software on top of the server hardware. So what is that particular software? We are probably installing a Hyper-V or hypervisor. So these are the two virtualization technologies that we have, right? So they are same, buying the same server hardware configuration, but this time the customer is trying to install a virtualization software. So using that virtualization software, you can basically create multiple machines or multiple websites. You can go ahead and deploy them, right? So this is a major benefit of virtual private server, right? So now let's understand how the hardware configuration is getting split here, right? So let's assume this hardware configuration is having 8 gigabytes of RAM, okay? And let's assume this is having 4 virtual CPUs. This is having 8 gigabytes of RAM and 4 virtual CPUs. So since due to the virtualization technology that has been deployed on top of this, so we can allocate the hardware into multiple machines. So since this is having 8 virtual CPUs, so 2 CPUs have been, sorry, 2 virtual, your 2 gigabytes of RAM has been assigned to one machine, 2 to another machine, and we are left with 4 GB again. So 2 GB has been allocated here, and for the fourth machine also, the 2 GB RAM has been allocated. And since we have 4 CPUs, so one CPU for each and every virtual machine has been allocated. And if we have some storage of 500 GB capacity, so even the storage has been equally allocated to 4 machines here. So one hardware server, you are basically using it up and deploying a virtualization software, and you are creating multiple machines. So this is the second generation that has been come into picture. Then later we have come up with something called shared hosting. May I know a very good example for shared hosting in the market now? Can anybody tell me an example for shared hosting websites?
Azure cloud.
Application and subscribe.
Probably GoDaddy.com, right?
Yeah, Big Rocks, GoDaddy like that, right?
Yeah, GoDaddy.com, correct? So what we are doing with GoDaddy, let's assume I have a coffee shop. Okay, let's assume I have set up the infrastructure for my very first coffee shop, and I have opened it up, and it's been 1 year. The business is doing pretty much good, and I'm getting a lot of revenue and profits. So I thought of setting up 2 more coffee shops. Why? Because my business is growing up and customers are adopted to my coffee. So now I thought of coming up with a coffee shop website, but I'm not from a programming background to develop a website or to buy the server hardware. Why? Because buying a server hardware might cost me a lot, so I cannot afford. So what I can do, being a customer, I can go to godaddy.com. So they would be maintaining server hardware. So they would be, we can go ahead and purchase the server hardware, whatever the configuration that we need, correct? So I bought it, and I have hired a developer, and the respective developer has actually helped me develop a website for my coffee shop, right? So I have hosted this coffee shop website and I made it available to public. So that's how my coffee shop website is actually running. So do you think the GoDaddy server hardware is dedicated only to me? No. Why? Because that is open to anybody, to public. So customer like me, there are multiple customers whosoever cannot bear the cost of the server hardware. They will be getting into GoDaddy.com and they will be purchasing the respective web hosting plan, or they can even purchase domains. They can even purchase the storage, right? Lot of things that they can purchase and they can create websites for them, right? So this is very cheap. This is very cheap. What is happening? One physical machine is being shared by hundreds of customers or businesses, right? So obviously this will come cheap cost for me. Probably monthly I might have to pay $2 or $3. Why? Because I'm hosting my website on this particular server hardware. I might have to go ahead and pay huge amount for them. And this is very limited. Why it is very limited? The space is limited. So if a lot of customers are trying to buy the space from the GoDaddy, who is a shared hosting owner, so obviously if it at times it might run out of space, correct? So that's where it is very limited. So it might come available, but they might have to take some more time. They might not have prepared for their server hardware capacity in the future. So that's where this is very cheap and it comes with very limited capacity, right? So now we are in the current era. So this is the current big thing that is happening in the market where we are in cloud hosting. So what is happening? So far we might have bought the servers. We might have buy the server with upfront cost. But with the current era that we are in, it's not only me, but multiple customers throughout the world, right, are getting into the public cloud of Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft has a lot of data centers which were spread across the world, right? So they are maintaining huge server hardware configurations, right? So any customer from any part of the world can go ahead and rent these servers. So we are changing the concept here. So far we have buy the server hardware upfront, but in cloud we are taking these servers on rent, right? And you're deploying your infrastructure, and whenever you don't need it, you delete the infrastructure and you pay for what you use. That's it. You're not paying anything additional here. You're not paying anything additional, right? So that's where the cloud, Microsoft Azure is maintaining huge infrastructure, right? It's not just only for one customer, for customers throughout the world, right? So they are taking the servers on rent, they're deploying virtual machines, remote computers or remote machines, right? And they will be basically using it to store their data, to host their website, or to host their database for whatever the purpose they're going and doing it. And they're paying for what they actually use. It's just like electricity bill that we get, right? So how we get the electricity bill? For the given month, how many units that we might have gone ahead consumed, we just have to pay for the respective bill only, bill amount that was generated, but we don't pay any extra, right? In the same time, if you take electricity bill, let's say I was not there in my home for more than a month, but I still get the bill from the government. What is the bill amount that I might get? Probably the minimum charges 50 or 60 rupees or $1 that I might get, right? I still have to pay. Why? Because those are user charges or service charges. So though I might not have used the electricity, I still have to pay the bill to the government. right? Like this, in the cloud, whatever the usage that I do, I just have to pay for that only. There is no hidden charges. At the same time, if I don't use the infrastructure in Microsoft Azure, I don't have to pay a single rupee. So that's the biggest benefit that Microsoft Azure is giving us, right? So what is happening here? We have huge infrastructure. So we have multiple customers. So the customers might be 100, the customers might be 1,000, or the customer might be in lakhs. Everybody can use the servers which were hosted by Microsoft in the public cloud, and they can deploy multiple virtual machines, right? So what it is for us, so Microsoft Azure is flexible. So there is no time limit. At any point of time, whenever you feel it to establish or set up the infrastructure, you can set it up, right? And it is scalable. You can scale the infrastructure like crazy. So you have created a machine which is of a size of two virtual machines and 8 gigabytes of RAM. And later you need that, no, you don't need 8 gigabytes of RAM, probably you need 16 GB. You can upgrade your machine just like that. And cloud will provide a lot of security. So it is super secure, right? So you might have heard about Fortune 500 companies, correct? You might have heard about Fortune 500 companies, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? So out of the Fortune 500 companies, which are big and top companies, 95% of the companies are using Microsoft Azure. 95% of the companies are using Microsoft Azure Cloud. So do you think without security, they will be blindly moving there into cloud, Microsoft Azure, and they will be hosting their data and saving their data? No. That's where Microsoft is providing a lot of security, and we can blindly get into cloud from on-premises. And this is cost effective. So comparative to on-premises, cloud is dead cheap. So how it is cheap, we'll be looking into the practicals. And you can configure cloud super easily. So whatever the configuration that you need, Microsoft Azure will be providing to us, and we can simply go ahead and do the configuration, right? So this is all about the evolution. So let's get into uh, a quick demo, understanding the on-premises and understanding in the cloud. And if time permits, we will be doing a demo as well to help you guys understand in a layman terms as to what is on-premises and what is cloud, and why people are crazy in moving to clouds, and why there are a lot of jobs that are getting generated. So let's move on with an example for today to help you guys understand. Let's move on to an example. Let's talk about a couple of scenarios for today to help you guys understand about on-premises. I believe you guys are able to see
Yes, sir.
my screen, correct? Great.
Yes.
So Sahiti is asking, any other server like Microsoft? Server, we will be getting into Sahiti probably in the next 10 to 15 minutes. You'll be able to understand what is server that we are talking about. Just hold your question for next 15 minutes. So let's have an interactive session. Anybody wanted to have a talk with me? Anybody wanted to have a talk with me? Just a casual talk to help you guys understand what is on-premises environment is. Yes, come on, let's have an interactive session. You can unmute yourself. We did not put any restrictions. Anybody wanted to have a talk? Okay, let me proceed ahead. Let's say I have a requirement of buying a laptop. Let's say I'm a I'm a student. I'm doing my bachelor's degree, and I'm in the final year. And in the final year, obviously, I might have to do a project, right? So for doing a project, I need a laptop. For doing a project, I need a laptop. So being a student, I got a thought that okay, I now have to buy a laptop. So what is the next thing that will come into my mind? Probably I have to decide on budget. Why? Because I'm a student. I might not be having ample budget. Whatever the budget that I have, I have to go with it. So I've decided the budget. Now I have to come up with specifications, right? Obviously, in order to buy a laptop, we cannot just blindly go with any configuration, right? We definitely have to go with some specifications, whatever the requirement that has to be fulfilled, right? So the requirements that I have are I need a processor of Intel i3 processor, probably 8th generation. Okay. Then I need a RAM of 4 gigabytes, and I'm looking for a hard disk size of 500 GB, right? And I'm probably looking for a battery backup of 5 hours. Obviously, initially I can expect a lot of battery backup, right? From any maker of the laptop that you take, Lenovo, HP, Dell, obviously you will get a decent amount of backup. So I'm expecting 5 hours of backup. And the screen size that I'm expecting is at least 14 inches or 15.2, or a HD screen or a full HD screen. Obviously, camera is needed. I am expecting 720 pixels of camera. And a lot of other ports like USB ports, VGA, HDMI, SD card port, or LAN, or Wi-Fi adapter, or Type C port, right? So if I'm going with this particular configuration, probably my laptop would cost me 40,000. Okay. So let's assume what is the time that I have to wait in order to get this particular laptop into my hands. Before that, let's understand the mediums where I can buy the laptop through a retail store, and I can go with online stores like Amazon or Flipkart. Agree? So if you go with online, the minimum time on an average that I'll take is 2 days to get the laptop into my hands. Agree? So let's assume I got the laptop today into my hands. Will I be able to start working on the laptop? With this configuration, will I be able to start working on laptop? Can somebody give me an answer?
No, you need an OS to
Yes,
support
absolutely. I
whatever you
need an
need.
operating system, right? So I
Yeah.
got the laptop in 2 days, and obviously I don't have operating system inside this laptop. So without operating system, I cannot work. So let's say I'm working for an operating system. Let's say I want to install Windows 10. May I know how much time it will take to install a Windows 10 operating system on a brand new laptop?
Just 20 minutes.
Actually, RAM.
Probably it might range from 30 minutes to 45. Agree? Let's assume I'm taking 45 minutes to install Windows 10 operating system. So will I be able to work on my project? Probably no. Why? Because I need MS Office. Correct. So MS Office installation might take 15 minutes. So all in all, 45 minutes for my operating system and 15 minutes for MS Office. So will I be able to start working on my project now?
You need internet.
Yes, I need a broadband connection. Let's say to get a broadband connection, probably I might have to spend at least 1.5 day, 1.5 day I might have to spend to get a broadband connection, right? So I've got the broadband connection now, right? On the other side, let's say I bought the laptop with inbuilt operating system and MS Office, it might cost me 45,000, right? And for internet, I might have to spend 500 rupees per month, correct? So now I can go ahead and get started with my project, with my academic project. Let's assume since I'm in the 4th year, I have attended some campus placements and I got a job in a company as a software developer, right? So now I joined the company and I started installing certain softwares like Visual Studio, SQL Server, Power BI, some Linux related softwares like Putty, Puttygen, Tableau, Quillix, Java, .NET related softwares. Do you think this configuration is enough?
Yeah, no.
No, right? So if this is not enough, what happens to my laptop after installation? Probably my laptop will become slow. Agree? And my laptop would be frozen. It might experience some performance issues, right? So basically, now the laptop is not working for my purpose, right? So now what are the options that I have? Will I be able to upgrade my laptop now?
No, we can't.
So,
Only few things you can upgrade like RAM, but not everything.
right? So processor i3 to i5, it's a straight away no, I cannot upgrade. But RAM, it's a limitation. If I have an additional slot, probably I would be able to upgrade it. Otherwise, no, right? Same hard disk, compatibility issues from 500 to 1 TB. If I have the compatibility issue, I can, otherwise no. The rest of the things you cannot do anything. Obviously, if you use laptop for 6 months, probably your battery backup might reduce from 5 hours to 2.5 hours, right? So there are a lot of limitations if I have to continue using the laptop with all of these softwares. But will I be able to upgrade to i5 laptop? Probably that might cost me 60,000 or 55,000 probably. But I'm just a student, I just got a job, so probably I cannot afford, right? So there are a lot of limitations with the laptop. What is laptop? Laptop is a physical device where I can touch, where I can feel, right? Let's assume the laptop, brand new laptop will come with 1 year warranty, correct? Let's say if motherboard has corrupted within the 1 year, whose responsibility to go ahead and fix it,
The manufacturer.
right? It's our responsibility, but your manufacturer will help fix it. Why? Because it is still in warranty. But within the warranty, your screen got scratches. Whose responsibility is it?
Yeah,
Screen damage is a physical damage, so physical damages cannot be covered under warranty, so it's our responsibility, right? Let's assume nothing has happened within the 1 year, but after your warranty, your keyboard keys are not working, or your mouse pad is not working, or your motherboard has failed. Whose responsibility is it? Your responsibility. You have to spend money to go ahead and fix the problem. Agree? So with a laptop, it's your whole and sole responsibility. If something goes wrong, it's your responsibility to go ahead and fix it. Nobody from outside will actually come and will fix the issue for you, right? So all in all, it is taking 2 days for me to buy the laptop, 1 hour to install operating system MS Office, and 1.5 day to get the internet access, right? So this I'm calling as a on-premises case. Why? Because laptop is in my premises. Whatever that I want to do, I have to touch, I have to feel, I have to work inside the laptop. So if something goes wrong, it's my responsibility to go ahead and fix it. And if it is in warranty, your service provider will fix it. Otherwise, it's your headache to go ahead and fix it. If your hard disk was failed, if your RAM is not working, right, your operating system got corrupted, it's your responsibility, right? So this is the laptop scenario that I wanted to go with today, right? So let's jump on to a quick demo, right? So will you guys able to watch the brand new movies or premium movies in OTT platforms free of cost, like Amazon Prime or Netflix?
No.
No, right? So what is required? You have to take a subscription, agree?
Yep.
Right? So in the same way, the subscription probably you can take it on monthly basis or you can take it on yearly basis. Agree? You have to buy the subscription by spending some cost. In the same way, if anybody wanted to move to cloud, especially Microsoft Azure, you have to basically subscribe or sign up to a subscription. So Microsoft is giving us the opportunity to get a free trial subscription, guys. To get a free trial subscription which is valid for 1 month, and you will be getting $14,500, probably $200 credit you might be getting free of cost, so you can learn, practice Microsoft Azure cloud free of cost. But the thing is, credit card is mandatory. You should either have a Visa or a MasterCard credit card to go ahead and sign up. Okay, but you can learn free of cost. You will be getting 14,500 rupees as a credit or $200 as a credit, and it will be valid for 30 days. So I'll be now logging into Microsoft Azure portal. I have a valid subscription already, so I'm logging into Microsoft Azure portal. Okay, so the address is portal.azure.com, right? And this is the home page. Anyways, we will be doing a quick portal tour later, but I wanted to do a quick demo to help you guys understand what is on-premises and what is cloud, right? So you remember I have already logged in using my credentials here. These are my credentials. Now what I'll quickly do it. So we have just gone through with a laptop scenario, correct? Now I'll create a virtual machine. I'll create a remote machine where I'll create, being in India, I'll try to create a virtual machine in United States of America. So somebody is asked about servers, right? Sahiti, I believe. So the picture that you will be able to look at now is one of the Microsoft Azure's data center, guys. This is a data center. By the way, Microsoft Azure data center is built in a space of 15 to 16 football fields. 15 to 16 football fields. You can just think of one football field size, right? So a Microsoft Azure data center is built in a space of 15 to 16 football fields. Okay, and this is an under construction data center. So there are certain components that were already ready, and you can see the parking area, you can see the electricity, you can see this is another means of electricity by turbines. These are your generators, these are your batteries or uninterrupted power supplies. And there is some data center which is almost up and running. And you see this is still under construction, and you see there is some empty space they're planning to construct again, right? So let's get inside the data center now. Okay, so this is how your racks and servers would be inside the data center. So huge racks and server, guys. Why? Because this is a publicly available data center. It's a public cloud, right? You see a lot of network cables, lot of racks, servers, and you see chilling units at the top. And this is the top view inside the data center as to how the racks and servers will look like. And this is one more view. So this is a data center layout. So what constitutes a data center? You can see generators, batteries, their power distribution units. You have rack servers, right? You have the chilling units or ACs. So we'll be getting in detail anyways about the data center layout, data center. But the thing that we are gonna do now is, so this is a global map, and wherever you see a blue circle here, those are your Microsoft Azure data centers. Those are your Microsoft Azure data centers, right? So Microsoft Azure proudly says that it is one and only cloud service provider in the market who is having many data centers when you compare with any other cloud service provider in the market, like AWS, GCP, Alibaba Cloud. So Microsoft has many data centers which were spread across the world. So wherever the customer that you have, you can go ahead and create the infrastructure there. So now what I will do, in India, we have 3 data centers, right? One is in Mumbai, the other one is in Pune, and the other one is in Chennai. And the good part is the 4th data center is coming up in Hyderabad in the next 2 years. And Hyderabad's data center is gonna be the 2nd largest data center in the world of data centers of Microsoft Azure. So if a new data center is coming up in a location, it means a lot of opportunities. So I think this is the right time to go ahead and learn Azure or Azure DevOps and get into Azure DevOps roles to feel the sense of the opportunities that we have. So now what I will do, being in Hyderabad, I'll deploy a remote machine, a virtual machine in United States of America East data center. Obviously, this is East, this is West, this is South, and this is North, correct? So I'll be deploying my virtual machine using internet connectivity in East US data center. So how I will be doing it, let's see. So let's get into virtual machines first. Probably I won't be able to explain everything now. Why? Because I'm doing a demo. But in real-time classes, we'll be digging into deep dive. So I'm going with creating a virtual machine. So for that, I need a subscription. I have a Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. Let's create a resource group. Let's say probably test resource group. So let's forget about what is resource group. I'll be able to explain you guys. Let's give a name to the VM. Let's say I'm giving VM1. Where do I want it to deploy? The region or data center? I can deploy anywhere in the world, but being in Hyderabad, I wanted to deploy in East United States of America, right? So let's go with any of the operating system, right? Let's assume I need a Windows Server 2016 data center. Let's select the configuration, whatever the server hardware configuration that you need, you can select. So you can see you have two virtual CPUs, 8 gigabytes of RAM, where you have to pay 5,000 plus rupees. You have one virtual CPU, 3.5 gigabytes of RAM, right? It's up to you. Whatever the configuration that you need, you can go ahead and select. May I know in India, what is the maximum RAM that you will be getting for a brand new laptop? Can anybody comment? Let's say I wanted to buy a brand new laptop, and what is the RAM, maximum RAM configuration that I would be getting for a laptop?
Mm,
16 GB?
yeah, maybe.
Yes, 16 GB. But in cloud, you can get any kind of RAM. So you see, 8 CPUs, I'll be getting 32 GB RAM. I have to pay 20,000 rupees per month. But you see, if you go to all sizes, you can get anything. Let's sort it out by RAM. So you can see the basic machine that you have is one CPU and 1 gigabyte of RAM. How much you have to pay? 546 rupees, right? So if you come down, you see 8 CPUs and 32 gigabytes of RAM. In the same way, you go to some other configurations. You see you will be getting 16 CPUs, 32 gigabytes of RAM. You get 8 CPUs and 56 gigabytes of RAM machine as well. And if you come down, you see the crazy configuration, 64 CPUs, 208 gigabytes of RAM. And if you come down, you can see 192 gigabytes of CPUs, 4096 gigabytes of RAM also there. And if you come down, 416 virtual CPUs and 11,400 gigabytes of RAM machine is also available in cloud. This is crazy, right? But did you ever seen these kind of configurations in on-premises or anywhere else? No, you should not probably. But in cloud, Microsoft Azure will give you a lot of configurations. You can go ahead and utilize it as per your business requirement. But now I wanted to go with two virtual CPUs and 8 gigabytes of RAM. So let's give an admin name. Let's give VM1. Let's give the password. Obviously, for a brand new laptop, if you don't have an operating system, you tend to install operating system, right? While you're installing operating system, it will ask for the admin name and password for the respective machine, correct? So we are now giving the same, right? So let's open RDP port. Why? Because we are trying to access this remote server using remote desktop protocol. For that, you have to open 3389 port, right? So that's it. You select, you review and create now. Now time matters for me. So now let's take a snippet of this. Let's take a snippet. So I need to know the cost now. So you see, I'm paying how much? 6 rupees 91 paisa per hour. But do you think I'll pay this much? No. How? I will let you know. So now behind the scenes, there is a validation that has been happened. Now I'm trying to create my VM. So now what is happening? I have this subscription. I have internet connectivity in my local machine. So with that, I'm trying to create a virtual machine being in Hyderabad to the United States of America. Now you see the deployment has been started. The deployment has been started. So what is the time? It's almost 8 o'clock where my deployment was started. At 8 o'clock, the deployment was started. Okay. So now what is happening? Being in India from Hyderabad, using the internet connectivity, it is going to the East US data center. So what is East US data center? Let's assume this is the East US data center. Probably it will be going inside, and it will be probably selecting one of the server from the rack, and it is helping me to create the virtual machine, which is of a size of 2 virtual CPUs and 8 gigabytes of RAM. So time matters for me now. Let's go ahead and look at the time. So what is the time now? It just completed 1 minute. It's just completed 1 minute. Yeah, now the virtual machine has been almost deployed. See, deployment complete. So it took 1 minute 20 seconds, guys. It took 1 minute 20 seconds to create a virtual machines for me. It took 1 minute 20 seconds to create a virtual machine for me. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll log into the VM. Okay, so how I will log into the VM? This is my virtual machine. Let's take the public IP address. Okay, now let's open the remote desktop protocol. Okay, let's paste the IP address now. Obviously, it's a remote computer. We have to access using IP address. Let's connect it. Now let's give the name. What is the name that I've given? VM1. And let's give the password. Let's click on OK. Now let's accept the certificate to get into the VM. Now you can see I was successfully able to log into the VM. Where was this VM present? This VM was present in East US, United States of America. Now you see I was successfully able to get into the VM. So I just took 1 minute 20 seconds to create a virtual machine. And this is what this is, a server operating system, Windows 2016 server operating system. So that's where your server manager is getting opened up. Server manager is getting opened up. And you see the internet has been given by Microsoft Azure. Let's go with no. I don't want it to allow anybody. So now I'll do a small change here. I'll go to the local server manager and I'll be turning off the internet enhanced security settings. May I know what is the speed that you can expect inside the virtual machine, guys? May I know what is the speed you can expect inside the virtual machine? Can anybody comment on it? Let's go with the default settings. Can anybody comment as to what is the internet speed that I can get? So let's install a Chrome browser. So this is just like a desktop, normal laptop or a desktop, so I can install anything. I'm installing a Chrome browser inside the virtual machine. Let's run. And let's look at the configuration in the meanwhile. Let's open File Explorer. Let's right click on this PC. Let's go to the properties. And you see, we have got Windows Server 2016 Data Center Operating System. And you see Intel Xenon processor. Did you ever seen Intel Xenon processor, guys? Did you ever seen Intel Xenon processors?
No.
So Intel Xenon processors are only used in data centers, only in servers. See, these are super fast processors, and you see 8 gigabytes of RAM. You see 8 gigabytes of RAM, right? Now I can upgrade from 8 GB to 16 GB easily. So I'll be able to do that just right away. Let's take a snippet. Let's take a snippet of it. I'm taking a snippet of the RAM that we have. Okay, let's save this onto my virtual machine desktop. I've saved it. Now let's do a quick speed test, guys. Speedtest.net. So probably you'll get surprised by looking at the speed. So you see the IP address has been given by Microsoft Azure. The IP address has been given by Microsoft Azure, which means the internet has been given by Microsoft Azure. Okay, and you can see the download speed is 408 Mbps, guys. And you see the upload is going close to 1 Gbps. So this is how inside the internet you will be getting the speed. Inside the virtual machine you will be getting the speed from Microsoft Azure. So it is close to 1 Gbps, correct? So we'll do the speed test again. So you see 408 Mbps at this moment. So now what I'll do, I'll upgrade this 8 GB RAM to 16 GB now. Let's see how we can go ahead and do that so quickly. Let me minimize this VM. Let's go to the virtual machine blade. Let's go to size. So now I'll be trying to go with 4 gigabytes of 4 virtual CPUs, and I'm going with 16 gigabytes of RAM, guys. Let's click on this and let's click on resize. So you can resize within fraction of seconds. So resize needs restarting of the VM. So that's where the VM is shutting down now. The resize will happen within fraction of minutes. Resize will happen in fraction of minutes. So you see the resizing is happening here. Just see, within fraction of seconds the resize has been happened. Now what I'll do, I'll access the VM again. Let's take the public IP address. Let's open the remote desktop protocol. Let's paste the public IP. Now it will only ask for the password. Why? Because we have already logged in with the same username. Let's give the password. Let's hit enter. So it might take some time. Why? Because we have just resized it. Let's cancel this and let's connect it again. Let's give the password. Yes, accept the certificate. Now the boot time would be super fast. So boot time is the time that is taking from the login to the desktop page. Why? Because we have upgraded it to 16 GB now. The boot time of the operating system is super fast. You see? Now you can see the snippet that I've saved is here, which is saying 8 gigabytes. Let's open this snippet. You see 8 gigabytes. Now I'll open the file explorer. Let's right click on this PC, go to the properties. Now we will be able to see 8 GB is here and it says 16 GB now. And you can see the processor also has changed it. Earlier it was Intel Xenon E52673V4. Now you see Intel Xenon Platinum 8171. So how crazy is this, guys? Upgradation of RAM is so easy for me now. But if you want to upgrade the RAM in your physical laptop, how much time it will take? First of all, you have to decide whether you have an additional slot or not. First of all, you have to decide whether you have an additional slot or not. Then you have to know whether it is DDR3 or DDR4 RAM, right? Then you have to purchase the RAM. Then you have to open the panels, back panels. Then you have to insert the additional RAM. Then you have to fix the panels. Then you have to log into the laptop. Then you have to see whether the RAM was upgraded or not. But here you see, you have upgraded the RAM within fraction of seconds, and the processor were also upgraded. Why? Because I've gone with 4 virtual CPUs and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So this is how you can do the things in cloud within no time. Now let's do a Q&A. Did I ask Microsoft to give me the internet? Did
No.
I ask Microsoft to give me the internet? No, they have given me. Now let's do the speed test. Can somebody let me know what is the speed that I can expect now? You have seen 408 Mbps earlier. Now, what is the speed test that you get? You get more than that now. See, IP address is from Microsoft Azure. Let's do a quick speed test. It might go beyond 1 Gbps now. You see, did you ever seen these speeds in our local machines? But this is what Microsoft is offering us. It is going close to 1.5. This is crazy speed, correct? I did not ask Microsoft to give me internet. And did I ask Microsoft to give me the C drive? The data disk, did I ask? No, they have given me. And may I know how much time it will take to deploy a server operating system? Normal Windows 10, it is taking 30 to 45 minutes. Server operating system installation in local machine, it will take more than 1 hour. But within 1 minute 20 seconds, I got operating system, that to server operating system. I got this much internet speed, right? I got a C drive data disk. I got everything. And you see the speed inside it. Now, what I will do, I'll delete this VM. I don't need this anymore. I'm deleting this virtual machine. Why? Because I don't.
Kranti, one quick question.
Yeah.
When you are upgrading, right? So whatever software you had installed before, everything will still be there, right?
Yes, I've installed Chrome and I'll access the Chrome now, right? After upgrading, I was able to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
So your softwares would be intact, just that the machine would be restarted. That's it.
Okay.
Why? Because you're changing the configuration. Now what I'm doing, I don't need this VM. I'm deleting it. But when you don't need this laptop, see the VM was deleted now. So if you refresh this, you see no resource found. Now, if you don't need this laptop, will you be just throwing it away? The i3 laptop? No. Will you be able to give it to any of your friends or family free of cost? No, you cannot do it. Let's say you wanted to upgrade from i3 to i5, will you be able to get half of the cost? Probably you'll get 20,000. But if you exchange in e-commerce, probably you hardly get 5 to 6,000, right? So these are the things that you can do with your physical laptop, and if you move to cloud, you can do crazy things within no time. Now I have taken a snippet, right? So will I pay this now? 6 rupees 91 paisa per hour I will pay? No. Did I use the virtual machine for 1 hour? No, I did not use it. I maximum used it for 20 minutes probably. I'll just pay close to, 2 rupees or 2.5 rupees. That's it. I don't pay this much to Microsoft. And do I have to pay upfront now? No. Once my bill get generated, I'll have 30 more days to go ahead and pay it. I don't have to pay right now. That's where if you move to cloud, it is hassle free. So you don't have to take a lot of headache. Microsoft will take care of maintaining your Windows update, server hardwares, and it will take care of your availability. And obviously, Microsoft Azure is super secure. You can blindly get into cloud. So this is one of the reasons why most of the customers wanted to go to cloud and save a lot of cost, and they can deploy the environment rapidly so quickly. Now you get into the PowerPoint presentation, right? And you understand these terminologies now. So it is flexible. You don't have any time limit. You can deploy the resources from any part of the world with just the portal access and the internet. And you can scale the infrastructure. We have just scaled from 8 GB to 16 GB so easily. If you have to downgrade from 16 GB to 4, you can do it. And it is secure, cost effective. You can see what is the cost that I'm paying. And it is highly configurable, right? I have the ability to go ahead and select my own configuration, own operating system. Whatever that I need, I can go ahead and select in cloud. That's where this is the current big thing that is happening in the market, where you are getting a lot of jobs. So when customers are moving from their on-premises to cloud, obviously you need a lot of administrators. And from the development perspective, even customers wanted to use the DevOps methodology to use for development. That's where even you are getting a lot of job opportunities in DevOps as well. So with this, I wanted to conclude for the day, guys. I wanted to take any questions that you guys might be having at this moment. I believe with this example, you might have understood what is on-premises and what is cloud and what we can do if you move to cloud. Any questions at this point of time so that I'd be able to take it up?
Will you teach the PowerShell as well? The scripting.
Yes, PowerShell also will be going with Azure command line interface. We will be also going with ARM templates.
And what is the salary ranges in the market? For,
It depends on
and
your experience, your prior IT experience.
okay.
But I mean, you get a lot of salary. So nowadays, how it is, earlier probably if you wanted to change your job, companies might be offering flat 30%. But nowadays, you can ask, you can demand for the package. Probably you can go to 100% hike or 120% hike as well. So it's you can go ahead and demand.
Okay.
Kranti, how different it is from AWS?
See, all the cloud computing technologies are similar, just that the terminology vary, but the concepts are same. So that's where I learned Microsoft Azure almost 6.5 years back, and I am doing pretty much good in AWS, GCP, Alibaba Cloud as well. Why? Because once you learn one cloud, it is super easy for you to learn other clouds as well. And I'll teach AWS DevOps. I'll teach other DevOps as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions, guys, before we call out for a day and sync up tomorrow same time? Any other questions?
And one more question. Daily
Yeah.
practice sessions will be there or only the theory session?
Yes, so once we are done with the theory, it's all about the labs from the real time that we do. Even I'll give some homework for you guys.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any final questions before we conclude for the day? Okay. Thank you all. I hope you have liked this session. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, 7 a.m. IST to go with the further topics. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.